Joel Embiid drops 52 on the Celtics. Philly wins, and I don't think anybody really is worried about what we saw on Tuesday night. I think the Celtics are cool with it. Going to talk about that. Plus, Jaylen Brown has an interview with The Athletic that if you're a hater, if you think that Jaylen is on his way out, this might not be what you want to hear. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every day, Monday through Friday, with a free, fresh podcast dropped directly to your device. So if you are not subscribed, this is a great time to do it. If you want to watch the show on YouTube, hop on, join there, subscribe there, join in on the conversation, hop in the comments section. Lots of fun there. I'd love to see you there. I'm John Karalis. I used to play professional basketball a long time ago. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And I've written a book called Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. We're going to talk about Jaylen Brown later on in the show. That's going to be the last segment. But I'm going to start off the first two segments talking about this Sixers game. Today's show brought to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba and get on your way to being your best self. Celtics lose 103-101, a wild finish. The Celtics were down by 7 with about 9 seconds to go. Basically, this game should have been salted away. The Celtics, Marcus Smart makes a play. He gets an and one. He maybe commits a lane violation on his way to the missed free throw thing that works. Over to Al Horford, over to Derek White. He hits a 3-pointer, and then he gets fouled. Sixers did challenge it, and that foul got erased. But it didn't matter because the Celtics got the ball back when Joel Embiid committed an offensive foul. The Sixers completely falling apart late in the game. They did not want to win this game. They were trying like hell to give the Celtics the win. And oh man, if the Celtics had pulled that game off, oh boy, just the mushroom cloud that you would have seen come up from Philadelphia after Sixers fans would have demolished the city. Not really, but they would have been pissed. I don't know. I haven't listened to any of the Sixers podcasts yet. I don't know if they're happy about this. They're happy about Joel Embiid, who was awesome in this game. 52 points, shot 80%, 12 of 13 from the line. I thought that was, he had 13 rebounds, 6 assists. The last 3 assists were the biggest of the night. He had just a phenomenal game. So, but the Sixers really tried to give that game away. The Celtics almost this close from snagging it. Jayson Tatum, who did not have a good night, shot 35%, 2 of 8 from 3, 19 points, did have 6 assists, did have 3 steals, but was a minus 13 on the night. This game turned. Embiid came back in, Tatum came back in, and all of a sudden the Celtics had a lead. It went from the Embiid had an 18-point first quarter. Then he sat. The Celtics came back. They took a brief lead. Embiid came back in. It kind of went back and forth that way. Celtics actually did win the third quarter Embiid minutes, but Embiid came back in, and it turned when he came back in, and Tatum came back in, and Tatum just kind of was just a little too ISO heavy, a little too pound the ball, had a couple of bad possessions, and one really bad possession where he fired up a 3-pointer after just holding the ball the whole time. It was not anything that It's Tatum at his worst, and maybe he was trying to just make a play, trying to find his shot, but that was that possession where he just dribbled the air out of the ball and fired a contested three. That's not what you want from Tatum. That's not what the Celtics want offensively. And I know that the Celtics weren't giving their complete 100% unfettered best effort in this game. And I shouldn't have expected that. I don't think anybody should have expected that. I think no Jaylen Brown, no Robert Williams to start off. I think this game was a very much we know we're going to play you guys later in the playoffs. If things go the way they should, you guys are going to handle your business. We're going to handle our business. And then we're going to have a little dance in the second round. So rather than give the Sixers any sort of recent film, anything new, anything that they, could probably hold on to say, hey, this is something we need to worry about in the playoffs. Celtics just played it straight. They just said, look, go out there, do your thing. We're going to defend Embiid straight up, like all of that stuff. It was that's kind of how the Celtics, I think, approached it. And so this is what we got. We got kind of some half-assing it. We got some really good performances. Derek White was awesome. He was the best player on the floor. 50, 40, 100 splits for him. 9 of 18 shooting, 4 of 10 from three. I would have loved on the last play of the game. This is where I think the Celtics look. It's 2 seconds left, so I'm nitpicking here. I'm going to say right away, I'm nitpicking the last play of the game. I'm not upset that Tatum got the ball and shot it with 2 seconds. It's hard to kind of make a read and make it. If it was 3.5 seconds, even maybe just a little bit more patience would have opened up that shot. But I think Tatum had Derek White, coming back in. The inbounder on the out of bounds play is always the most dangerous guy on the floor. You hear people say it all the time because there's a natural instinct to turn your head and follow the ball. Embiid didn't just turn his head. Embiid turned and ran towards Jayson Tatum. So in that moment, could you have asked for Tatum to be more aware? Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, it's kind of tough to get that kind of level of, especially in this game, that level of execution, that level of recognition. 2 seconds left. You got to catch. You're either making one quick move and you're taking a shot. That pass has to be evident right away, or you just got to take that shot. And it's tough. I can sit there and say on film, looking back on it, hey, get it. Just get that pass. Recognize that Embiid is coming at you. Just jump and pass to Derek White real quick and have D White take the wide open shot. Even as the clock is ticking down, 2 seconds, the ball comes in, it touches Tatum, then it goes back out to Derek White. There's time to do it. It really would have been sweet to see what would have been an 8-0 run in the final 9+ seconds. It would have been especially sweet to beat the Sixers, knowing that the last 2-minute report would have shown a lane violation on Marcus Smart. But, like I said, it's hard for Tatum to see that. But I thought Tatum, just an uninspired game, nothing there for Tatum. I think he's just kind of like coasting. So whatever. I'm not worried about the coasting now. I'm really not. The Celtics are going to be the 2 seed. They're going to be the 2 seed. Milwaukee won pretty easily. They beat Washington. So if Boston's going to get the top seed, they need Milwaukee to lose out their last 3 games, and Boston has to win their last 3 games. That's not going to happen. Same thing with Philly. They need Boston to lose all of their games, and they need to win all their games. Boston just needs to win one, for Philly to lose one. So just get one of these wins against Toronto or Atlanta. Just take care of business this next game out and you'll be fine. That you're going to be the second seed. So I don't think the Celtics put in maximum effort in this one. But like I said, D. White was good. Malcolm Brogdon was good. Good stuff. Things that we're going to see in the playoffs. Once again, that perimeter, the guards, especially in the second half, I thought all played well. Marcus Smart, same thing. He made great plays. Grant Williams made some good plays as well, playing a decent amount of time. Jayson Tatum was off. Al Horford was off. And that's about it. They ran some interesting lineups with Cornette and Muscala in there. But without Rob, without Jaylen, that's just kind of like experimentation and just, hey, let's throw this out there. Blake Griffin had a few decent minutes, but that's what the Celtics, I don't think they were giving it their best. And I'll talk more about that in the second segment because I thought they were totally fine with Embiid scoring a lot of points. Now, 52, maybe that crossed the line a little bit, but I'll talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right. The first time around, just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know your part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And thanks for listening to Locked On Celtics, making it your first listen every day. Head on over to the Locked On NBA feed. I'm not doing Locked On NBA today. The Wednesday show. Normally I do the Wednesday show. Jake Madison is along with me for the ride, but Jake will be there. I'm not because I was watching the Celtics and covering the Celtics. So I'll be back next week for Locked On NBA. So check that out. Joel Embiid, like I said, 52 points. They needed all 52 because Tobias Harris gave them nothing. PJ Tucker stepped up at the end, but for most of the game was giving them nothing. Tyrese Maxey gave them nothing. James Harden was okay. Decent. Yeah, 20 points, 10 assists. He was good. No one else did anything. Jalen McDaniels hit a couple of shots, 8 points for him. It was the Embiid show. They couldn't hit anything outside of Embiid. He really literally scored half their points, 52 of the 103. So he had a little more than half of their points. It's crazy. And I think the Celtics were cool with it. I really do think the Celtics, honestly, let me ask you this question. And go ahead. You see my ears. I can hear you when you answer me. I don't care that I pre-recorded this. Are you really concerned? Are you concerned about the Sixers at all after this game? Does this loss to the Sixers, does the way Embiid played make you go, whoa. Hey, now, I'm worried. Now, I'm the guy that has been saying you want the 1 seed because you don't want to play the Sixers in the second round. But honestly, from what I saw in this game, it's not like I was ever worried about the Sixers. I'm not worried about the Sixers. But this game doesn't make me worry about the Sixers at all. Not at all. They're at full strength. The Celtics were missing Jaylen and Rob, and they still needed 52 from Embiid to barely hold on at the end. And that's somewhat meaningful to me. And it's also meaningful that Embiid got this 52 because the Celtics didn't do anything to really stop him. And when I don't say that in the annoyed kind of way. The Celtics really just single covered him. Whether it was Horford, whether it was Grant Williams, who else got a crack at him? Blake Griffin got a crack at him and had some success. But everybody for the most part, you just single cover him. And he got the ball at the free throw line extended, and just took jumpers. And okay, that's fine. And when they played up on him, he went by them. Okay, that's pretty good. And when they finally decided at the very end, the last 2.5 minutes of the game, 3 minutes of the game, they said, all right, the Celtics saw an opportunity to go for the win. And so they started sending help, and they were helping off PJ Tucker. And Embiid, to his credit, he never really does this. He passed out of the double teams. He passed out of the blitzes. He found the right guy. He recognized where it was coming from, and he made the right play. And Tucker hit 3 3-pointers in a span of 2 minutes to close the fourth quarter. So, I mean, good for Embiid. They gave him open shots. He took them. They pressed up on him, and he went by them. They blitzed and sent an extra guy, and he made the right pass. That's exactly what you want from your star if you're Philly. But that's not how the Celtics are going to play Embiid in the playoffs. We've seen, look, I know I'm kind of like the analyst here, but you know what you've watched when the Celtics have played the Sixers. You know what you've seen when the Celtics have played the Sixers. You know that it's always when Embiid puts the ball on the floor, dig. There are hands in the way. There's always some kind of help coming somewhere. You know, you can press up on him, and if he's going to make a move, there's going to be help. You're going to force him to make decisions. Celtics didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't do anything until the very, very end. And they look, I shout out to Joe Mazzulla. He said, and he talked about it after the game, where he said, we were talking about before the game, how much are we willing to take? How much of this are we willing to accept? And the answer was basically 50 points. And at the very, very end, they said, okay, we have this opportunity to win this game. Let's just send a second guy. We're just going to help off of PJ Tucker. We're going to say, hey, PJ Tucker, we don't trust you to make 3-pointers. What's he shooting on the season? He's shooting, let's just take a look here real quick. Okay, he's shooting 39.6% so his shooting, it's not like it's dipped or anything like that. It's not like it was his late Houston days or anything, but they still challenged him to make the 3-pointers, and he made them. So, hey, good luck. Congratulations, I should say. Congratulations for making those shots. The Celtics were hoping that maybe he'd miss one or maybe he'd miss two. He hit all three. But they didn't do anything that would have that would have given Doc Rivers like, oh, I got to take this note down so we can prepare for this when the playoffs come around. The knock on Doc is that he doesn't adjust well. So don't show him anything recent that they can put in their memory banks. You just play him straight up. You play Embiid straight up, and you hope that he doesn't shoot 80%. I mean, that was an outlier game. Embiid is certainly capable of scoring 52, but he really, 20 of 25. Wow. And then he went to the line 13 times. And Joe Mazzulla was happy about this. He said, we didn't foul him a lot, but he still went to the line 13 times. We'll say 12 times because one of them was a tech. So they fouled him 6 times. I guess they could have fouled him a lot more. So the Celtics, I think, we're totally fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. I don't look at this game and see anything about how the Celtics played the Sixers and say, oh, now I'm worried. Now I'm worried about how they are. This is not how Embiid's going to play in the playoffs. I guarantee it. Guarantee you he's not going to play like this in the playoffs. Just making a bunch of jumpers? That's it? No. That's not how this is going to go in the playoffs. So this is one of those losses that honestly I don't care about. I really don't care. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Win one of these next 3 games. Done. Get your second seed. Sit around. Wait to see who's going to be that 7th seed. And that is still up for some debate because, Brooklyn won. Miami won. So they're still alive, but they're running out of time. It's a 1-game lead, Brooklyn over Miami. So Miami can still jump, but Brooklyn has that tiebreaker. So Miami's still alive, but they need Brooklyn to lose one of these upcoming games. Let's just take a quick look at who do they have coming up. They have Detroit, Orlando, and Philly. Well, we'll see. Philly will probably be resting guys that final game because it doesn't matter. So they'll probably only lose once more, maybe Orlando, unless Detroit steps up. Meanwhile, Miami, let's do a quick, who does Miami have left on the schedule? Philly, Washington, Orlando. Huh, how funny. So they have 2 common opponents. We'll see how it goes. Celtics going to sit back and wait. They're probably going to play Miami, but I personally would rather see Miami jump to 6, let Philly handle that in the first round, and the Celtics can take care of Brooklyn or Atlanta or whatever. I'd much rather go to Brooklyn in the first round or have Brooklyn in the first round. Take care of that. I just don't want to deal with Jimmy Butler. I just don't. I know I said it yesterday. I just don't. It's annoying. I don't want it. I know their offense sucks. I know they're down there for a reason. I know the Celtics should probably handle that. I just don't want to deal with Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. So sue me. Don't want to deal with Bam Adebayo as a defender in the playoffs. Sue me. I just feel like they're each good for 1 win. And so if you say they're going to sweep, well, those 2 guys are probably going to make it a 6-game series. I just don't want that. I hope I'm wrong. But anyway, Jaylen Brown had some interesting comments to Shams Charania. And I think, honestly, I wish I'd hear more of this from Jaylen Brown because it's pretty straightforward. Like there's some talk coming up about him and his future and all. And no. This I think clears a lot of it up. I'm going to talk about that next. First, today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Playoffs are almost here. Perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. I know in Massachusetts, recently legalized, so a lot of you are making this. You're jumping into it. This is great for you. You get a no sweat first bet if you're a new customer of up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back. Your first bet doesn't win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Safe, super secure, very easy to use. You get your money when you win within a couple of hours. So you see it hit your bank account pretty quickly. You can bet on everything. The money line, points scored, player props, all that stuff. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So have some fun with it, but don't miss your chance on that no sweat first bet of up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's how you got to get this. FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Just got to ask you, if you're going to do it, please gamble responsibly. Going to wrap up the show with Jaylen Brown talking to Shams Charania of The Athletic. This interview is on Shams' Twitter. If you're on Twitter, you follow him. Everybody follows him. He's one of the newsbreakers out there. So check it out. I'll paraphrase some of the quotes that he said just to move things along. But he was asked some of the questions about his future and all of that stuff and his friendships, his relationships with guys. He talks about Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is like a brother kind of relationship. You bump heads millions of times and, put each other in a headlock and arm wrestle. But, they don't always see eye to eye, but he knows that Marcus Smart's going to go to war with him every night. And that's exactly that brother type of relationship. You know what I'm talking about, right? If you've got a brother or a sibling and you know that you guys can talk smack to one another, but when push comes to shove, you're going to have each other's back. And I think that's the relationships that he has with Marcus Smart. And you know that they've butted heads. You know that they've had like that bubble kind of argument that was between those guys. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen on a team. And they've been able to work through all that stuff. And they've really come to a good place together. And him and Jayson Tatum, he talks about his relationship with Jayson Tatum and how they celebrate each other and how he celebrates Tatum's victories. He celebrates Tatum's individual accomplishments. You go back to the Olympics when he got the gold medal. There's a picture of Jaylen with the gold medal and he's celebrating with Tatum. Do they have to be best friends? No, but they go in and they see each other work every day and they celebrate each other. And Jaylen says all that stuff in this interview. And I just feel like it's one thing to have conversations about, who knows what a guy's future is going to be. Jaylen says all this stuff and I think it's good, natural. Some of this stuff is he's making his own points about wanting to, or being curious about, hey, you are curious about if you had more of an opportunity to do this or that, but that's fine to say. But to hear people continue to say, oh, I feel like he's on his way out, like it just becomes noise. And I know I'm sick of hearing it. I'm sick of being asked about it. I did a radio appearance on Tuesday and I got asked about, oh, so-and-so was saying this about Jaylen Brown, that he's working his way out of Boston. You're like, what? Who's saying? I haven't heard anything about Jaylen Brown wanting his way out, working his way out, wanting out of Boston. And if he makes all NBA and he gets that Supermax extension, then he's not going to want to leave Boston. He's going to want to get that 35% of the cap. That's just how it works. I think people need to understand that he's happy with his teammates. He's happy with the team that he's on. Is he 100% happy with his entire role? No. Is anybody? Probably not. Because, is Jayson Tatum, if you ask him honestly, does he want to be a playmaker? Probably not. But he has to be, because that's his role on this team. Does Marcus Smart want to, play a certain way? No, probably not. He wants to be the point guard. Does he want to be there waiting in the corners, just catching and shooting? No. Does any one of these players want to do the exact thing that they're doing? Does Al Horford really, really, really want to be shooting all of these 3-pointers? No, probably not. He wants to probably play back to the basketball where he can back down and use post moves and use his touch around the basket. But everybody's got to do something that they're uncomfortable with, or add things to their game that they're uncomfortable with, or do things for a team that they might be uncomfortable with. And guess what? Everybody on the Celtics is doing that. Not just Jaylen Brown. Everybody on the Celtics is doing that. Look at what Derek White is doing on a daily basis. You think he's happy if he goes to the bench or if he gets 20 minutes or if he's not playing in the fourth quarter? No, he's not. But you get a chance to win a championship here. So everybody, shut up and enjoy this, because is Jaylen Brown going to be here forever? No, probably not. That's how things go in the NBA. Guys don't play their entire careers in one place. Whether he wants it or somebody else wants it, Jaylen Brown will finish his career probably, sorry to say it, somewhere else. Because, and as we talked about in yesterday's podcast with Keith Smith, and we're going to talk about it in Friday's podcast when we get back to part 2 of the CBA stuff, things change, rules change, and the Celtics are going to be in a spot where they're not going to be able to afford everybody, and they're not going to be able to keep everybody. And as much as they're going to want to try to stick around with Tatum and Brown, there's going to be a point where, hey, just like Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, just like those guys ended up going somewhere else, So will Jaylen and so will Jayson, because the Celtics are going to have to rebuild at some point, right? What we want to see, like I said in the other podcast, you want to see banner 18. You want to see banner 19. You want to see banner 20. You want to see multiple championships with these guys. And eventually, other key players will get old. Al Horford will retire at some point. Robert Williams, don't know what is going to happen with him and his injuries. Malcolm Brogdon will age out. Other guys will age out. The Celtics will lose opportunities to add players to their team. And at some point, they're going to have to say, look, we're good, but we're not that good. And we don't have the supporting players anymore. And maybe Tatum and Brown might say, hey, I'm sick of playing 42 minutes a game, trying to carry this team to a second round exit. Maybe that's where the Celtics go. Maybe they win a championship or 2 or 3, and then it starts to fall apart. And Brown and Tatum go as the Celtics scrap it and rebuild. And by then, you hope that Tatum and Brown are the 32 and 33-year-old stars that you've gotten everything you can out of them, and they move on. But that's then, not now. Right now, Jaylen Brown's 26, and he looks at his teammates, and you can hear in this interview, he actually likes his teammates and likes when they succeed. So I'm tired of the discussion that he wants to go somewhere else, or he wants to be the man somewhere else. I'm not in his head. I can't say for sure one way or the other what he's thinking, but I think it's clear enough. Like if you're not hearing it now, you just don't want to hear it. Jaylen Brown likes being around these guys. He likes his teammates. I think he likes this team. I think he likes this organization. For the most part, everything is pretty cool. But Jaylen Brown, as I've said in previous podcasts, is a guy who's thoughtful, and he thinks a lot about everything. And he wants to maximize his impact on the world. So he's constantly reevaluating his situation. I understand that. I understand that constant reevaluation of, okay, is what I'm doing right now really what I want to do? Is that really where I want to be? And that might be yes today, and might be yes tomorrow, and yes next year, and a year after that. And then after that, it might be no. Because things change, circumstances change. You get older. What your motivation is changes. So Jaylen Brown is how he thinks and feels about things fluid? It should be. That's what it should be. But this interview should, and probably won't, unfortunately, but should kind of just set the record straight. Just like, he likes these guys. He likes it here. And it's pretty simple. Get him that Supermax contract. He's going to stick around. Then he'll stick around till 27, 28, 29, 30. And hopefully in that time, the Celtics have a ton of success and he reaps a ton of benefits. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. If Jaylen Brown wants it, if he wants to stick around, and if the Celtics are successful, it's a real chance to pump up his legacy in Boston, because all-star games, as part of the Celtics, if the Celtics keep winning, all-star games come. All NBA selections come. And if he finishes his career in Boston with a championship or 2 or more, if he finishes with a ring or multiple rings, and he has multiple all-stars, 5, 6, 7 all-stars, and 4 or 5 all-NBA selections, now you're looking at multiple-time champion, or at least a champion, a guy with a bunch of all-star games, a bunch of all-star selections, a guy with a bunch of all-NBA selections. That's starting to sound like a Hall of Fame resume. Now, I think, obviously, Jaylen being good enough to be considered that. But as we know, circumstances help dictate that. And you rack up those accolades in the right situation. So I just want Jaylen Brown to take a look at that big picture. And I think he sees it. So mostly I just want everybody to shut the hell up about Jaylen Brown and his future. You know what Jaylen Brown's future is? Playing against the Toronto Raptors and trying to win a championship this year. That's his future. That's the only future anybody should be worried about when it comes to Jaylen Brown. The rest will be okay. I will be here after the Wednesday night game with another post-game podcast. Hopefully more fun than the Sixers game, which I really am. Seriously, I'm just kind of blowing that off. And hopefully there'll be interesting stuff to talk about after that game against Toronto. Then that's going to be the Thursday podcast. The Friday podcast will be part 2 with Keith Smith and the collective bargaining agreement stuff. So make sure you're subscribed. Get this dropped directly to whatever app you use. Get it on YouTube. Watch the show. Hop in the comments section and share the podcast. Tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.